a lot of people start to talk about the dopamine addictions with games or with adult movies and etc., etc. And the only way they're seeing it to reduce this dopamine addiction is to stop playing video games at all, do more exercises, um, go reading, do etc., etc., but not playing because it somehow affects to your, it triggers a lot of dopamine addiction. What do you think about it? Is it, does this theory even make a place?
Not from what I understand. The dopamine thing is very, very overly exaggerated from people who don't understand dopamine or neuroscience overall. Um, yeah, so that's what I'm saying. There's those comments that I made are not representative of what we actually see. And dopamine is, I mean, this we know that dopamine is implied when there's addiction.
Mhm.
But there's also dopamine when you're eating something or having sex or receiving something that you didn't, a reward that you didn't expect. And so this is not because you have a surge of dopamine in your brain that's necessarily going to create an addiction.
Hmm.
So even with drugs, with substance, we can't have a direct line that, oh, there's that surge of dopamine, this we know that this person is going to get addicted. We can't say that. So again, it's a lot of neuro bullshit. It's very common today. So you have stuff around dopamine, oxytocin, that crap.
Yeah.
I recently just saw an article of someone talking about games and naming me and then saying all that crap with dopamine and oxytocin. I'm like, oh my God, seriously. Um, so it's very common because it's a good narrative and people believe the narrative, and we see that again and again. Something that sounds like it makes sense, and if you don't know about any of these things, it's just a narrative that makes sense and you're just going to buy into it. And it's really hard to combat this because the real narrative is it's complicated. Actually, it depends, and saying it depends and it's complicated is not as a good story as, yeah, dopamine is bad. That if you tell people, well, okay, but consider this: if you don't have enough dopamine, you can have problems like Parkinson's is
Hmm.
the fact that your brain is not producing dopamine, and so you cannot move anymore. um, Dopamine is important. It's not just doing one thing, and it's important for learning. It's important for moving, and yes, in some cases, it's gonna be correlated with addiction.
Right.
But yes, not as simple as people want
Imagine
it.
it. Yeah.
But it's a
Yeah,
good
but
story.
that's it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
That's
all you need to create, I mean, the whole point of the social media is now to get more views and more followers. And people
that's
can
the
create
problem.
absolutely
It's
very expensive
rewarding.
bullshit.
It's rewarding bullshit, yeah, and that's a big problem, as we can see today. I really don't know how to combat that, and it has deep implication not just for video games but also for societies and democracy.
Right.
So it's a deep, deep problem that we need to tackle. Because yeah, bullshit and sensationalism and pitting people against each other is good
Yeah.
business with social media. So we need to solve this somehow. Otherwise, it's not going to get any better.
What is your day-to-day responsibilities? What was your day-to-day responsibilities while you working with these companies like Ubisoft, Epic Games?
So it really depends on towards the end of my the end. It's not the end, but
Uh-huh.
the more advanced in my career I was,
Okay.
more my role was about building a UX strategy for the company,
Hmm.
building a team and building having processes and a pipeline. So that was my role. Like for example at LucasArts, but didn't have the time to do much at Lucas because Disney bought Lucas and closed down LucasArts. So I was just at LucasArts for a year and a half. But that was my role at Epic Games. Boot the UX team and make all that. Have a research team and have processes and also advocate for UX and explain what this
Hmm.
is about. So that was my daily responsibility, and also help the teams with the games and help them make the right decisions.
Does that also include work with, for example, with narrative writers
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
designers
absolutely.
about shaping the storytelling for the video games?